Hello, Waswere here, back with another video, and today we're going to go through a Mage Minion tank guide for next Angel of Death. I will give a fair warning that this is going to be a high-level guide with high gear requirements, but even if you don't have the requirements, you might learn a thing or two or just be entertained by it. First off, let's talk about what I'm going to assume about you, the viewer. You've done AoD before in a non-mass kill, so somewhere in the 7 to 10 range for people, so I don't need to explain things like minion order or what the specific rules are. With that out of the way, let's get into the gear setup. There are 3 hard, expensive requirements for this setup and this guide. The Fractured Staff of Armadyl, the Magma Tempest Ability Codex, and Aerithor's Grimoire. The Fractured Staff of Armadyl has an overpowered special attack that whenever you get a critical hit, it launches a 2-handed auto. Not only does that do damage, but it also has a critical chance, which can lead to launching another auto, and so on, leading to a lot of damage and adrenaline gained. To stop potential infinite damage, only critical hits that happen on your main target will launch an auto. So if you barrage and hit 3 targets, even if you crit on one of the non-main targets, it won't launch another auto unless your main target crit. Every time that you launch an auto from the staff due to critting, you gain +2 adrenaline, as that is the adrenaline gain for a 2-handed mage auto. The next item on the list is Magma Tempest. Its ability to lay down a burn and have 8 hits really increases the amount of damage you can do and the adrenaline you can gain. On top of that, it does a lot of base damage and it is a basic ability. I highlighted it on an ability review video, which I'll link in the description, if you want a more fulsome review of it. It's a fairly annoying ability to use as you have to place it on your target or a square. Think of it like you're throwing a Vuln Bomb, which we all complain about doing. The third required item is Aerithor's Grimoire. It provides a +12% critical hit chance increase. This is a de facto requirement because the higher your crit chance, the more autos you get, and that means more damage. To give an example of how powerful it is, under Sunshine, Staff of Armadyl spec, and Best in Slot gear, Magma Tempest will do 27,803 damage. If you keep everything the same, but you only take away Aerithor's Grimoire and replace it with a Book of Wen, it now only does 18,354 damage. A 33% reduction in damage for that ability just from not wearing the Grim. That's how powerful even the smallest crit chance increases can be. Now that we have the hard requirements out of the way, let's look at the rest of our presets, starting with augmented weapons. I have a total of 5 mage weapons with me. You don't need all of them, but they all add a little bit. First is the Fractured Staff of Armadyl. It has the standard perks for 2-hand with Precise 6, Ruthless 1, and Aftershock 4, Equilibrium 2. This is my main weapon that I camp for the majority of the fight. Next up we have the Wand of the Appraisal. It has Precise 6, Aftershock 6 on it. This is my main hand weapon for whenever I need to use a dual wield ability. It's pretty minor as the majority of our damage comes from 2-hand, so feel free to use a lower tier and cheaper wand like Seismics. Next up we have the Imperium Core. This is the first of our 3 offhands. It has Equilibrium 4, Ruthless 3 on it, as I didn't want to spend the GP to get Aftershock 4, Equilibrium 2 on it, which is slightly better. This is my main offhand camp weapon. Again, this is only used for Greater Conk and a small amount of other abilities, so feel free to downgrade to a Seismic Singularity or even lower. Next up we have the Seismic Singularity. This is our second offhand. It has Flanking 4 on it. I use this on amalgamations and or pillars if needed, but honestly, if you're overwhelmed and need to drop something, it's not a bad idea to drop the Flanking Switch. And our last mage weapon is a Ancient Lantern. This is a T80 defender, meaning it acts as both a T40 shield and a T40 offhand mage weapon. This is used for 2 reasons. First of all, it acts as my planted feet switch to increase the time of my Sunshine. Secondly, in the case that things go wrong and I need a shield, I can quickly use it as a budget shield. You don't necessarily need the defender itself, but some form of planted feet swap is required. In terms of armor, let's go through what I've equipped and my inventory, starting with the augmented stuff. I have Elite Tectonic, but the tier of the armor is not overly important, just the more damage the higher tier it is. What matters most is the perks that you have on it. On the top I have Relentless 5, Crackling 4, with Biting 4, Genocidal taking up the other slot. On the legs I have Invigorating 4 plus Mobile and Devoted 4, Impatient 4. All these perks are very useful at AoD except for Genocidal. It's kind of on there just for my Carapax solos that I end up doing with Mage, as the Slayer Test buff works there, and there's nothing else I can really combo in to Biting that will give me more damage at Angel of Death. Invigorating 4 is the one perk that you might not know what it does, and it increases the adrenaline gained by autos by 0.2% per rank. That means for a 2-handed auto with Mage, we're going to get 2.8% adren instead of 2% adren. This really compounds quickly for more adrenaline with Tsunami and the staff spec. For Essence of Finality, I have 2, a Gothic Staff and an Armadyl Battle Staff, both of which are used throughout the fight. But if you only want to camp one and not worry about switching throughout the fight, go with the Armadyl Battle Staff. Blast Diffusion Boots are important for the rotation, so make sure you have them equipped, as we'll need to do a quick ditto on the second phase. Ring-wise, you'll want 2 of them, the Ring of Vigor to use whenever you're Sunshine, and the Reaver's Ring for the plus 5% critical chance. You can use the Ring of Death instead to lower death cost, but like the Grimoire, it really cuts into your DPS to lose that critical chance. Omni Power is a big part of the rotation, as you use it 3 times a kill while in Staff Spec and Sunshine, dealing a ton of damage. So if you don't have that no checkpoint normal mode, go for it and get that cape. Beyond that, bring your best in slot Mage gear. For the inventory, it's a relatively standard preset. Bring 3 Grasping Rune Pouches with the 12 combat runes in it, all runes except for Nature, Mind, and Armadyl. For food, you're going to want to move away from hard food and bring jellies as your main source of food. They heal 750 per bite, but don't drain adrenaline when you eat them. I also have Ceradomin Brews as my combo food, though once you feel more comfortable, you can replace them with Gothic Stress. They heal half as much at 500 each, but they don't drain your offensive stats when drinking, so it leads to more damage. In terms of your offensive spell, you're going to be camping Insight Fear for the majority of the fight. I also bring the runes for Exsanguinate if I get a little excited and want to swap to it, but most of the time I just end up camping Insight Fear. I also have a Saren Godbow in my inventory. This is for SGBing the pillars. Again, not a requirement, but nice to have for some extra damage. I'll have wiki links to all the items I have equipped in my preset, so if you're confused on anything, click the links below in the description. In terms of relic power, you're going to want Conservation of Energy to save 10% on each ultimate ability, though the other 2 slots can basically be whatever you want. Before we get into the kill, I want to talk about the abilities you can use and the damage that they provide. Based on kill speed, there will be a lot of improvisation that you need to use. It's not as simple as just using the most damaging ability because of the staff spec and the critical hits. Each ability requires some calculation to know what it does. You're going to do the bulk of your damage under Sunshine and staff spec, so we're going to assume that those are up at all times. Let's start with Smoke Tendrils. Smoke Tendrils is one of the best abilities you have as a Major now. It has a special effect where it crits 100% of the time as long as you are boosted in your magic level in some way. This means that it will always launch an auto with every hit, making it do a ton more damage than the tooltip says. You can cancel Smoke Tendrils after 2 hits, 3 hits, or 4 hits. To cancel after 2 hits, you can just activate another ability right after global cooldown ends. 3 hits are a little more complicated to time as it's after 5 ticks, which as soon as you see 2 on the buff bar. For 4 hits, you cancel as normal. 2 hit deals 21,818 damage in 3 ticks. 3 hit deals 33,845 damage in 5 ticks, and 4 hit deals 47,361 in 7 ticks. Their overall damage per tick lowers the longer you hold it, but as it's guaranteed crits, which means more adrenaline, it's almost always worth holding till the end of your Smoke Tendrils unless it impacts your ability to Omni Power. Asphyxiate works the same way as Smoke Tendrils, but it doesn't have the automatic crit special effect, so its overall damage is worse, with 2 hit being 17,756, 3 hit being 26,634, and 4 hit being 35,513. This is the ability you're going to cancel early in order to get your full rotation off, as the longer you hold it, the lower your damage per tick is. Igneous Omni Power is a very broken ability with the whole synergy we have going on. It provides 4 hits in total, which is 4 opportunities to crit and get an extra auto. This is going to be your highest priority ability, and you want to guarantee that you get it off every time you Sunshine. It deals 39k damage per use. Note that there is travel time on the secondary hits of Omni, so you want to make sure that you do it early enough that they also hit. Magma Tempest is the best basic you have in your toolbelt. If you get 5+ hits of it, it's as good as any threshold ability because of the potential crits. We'll be laying this down as a high priority way to build adrenaline every time we spec. It is somewhat cumbersome to use, but you get used to it after an hour or so. And last but not least, we have the Armadyl Battle Staff Essence of Finality. This gives you 5 small hits to crit. And as with Omni, the 5 small hits are very powerful because they give you way more opportunities to launch autos with the staff spec. It does 27,935 damage over the 5 ticks, which is over 5,500 damage per tick, putting it in the range of a 68, but worse than Smoke Tendrils. Okay, finally time to start the kill. Well, time to start the pre-kill prep. One of the unique parts about AOD is that there is a lot of pre-kill prep to get all our abilities off in a very small period of time to make sure the team deals 900k damage in time to skip mechanics. To make this as simple as possible, we're going to start at the end of a kill. Pick up your drop and teleport to War's Retreat. You're going to have all your good abilities on cooldown, so touch the Altar of War to reset everything. You can choose to bank at Wars or at Nex bank. I prefer to bank at Nex. You need to be quick so that you can get back to the kill as quick as possible. Get your adrenaline back up to 100%, and from there you get yourself back into the instance and banked. Save your preset so that your planted feet is automatically equipped when you load the preset. Surge immediately after joining the instance and you'll end up just south of the dummy that the Chinner has placed down. At this point, keep an eye on the base and their adrenaline. You want to time your sunshine with them as much as possible. Having all the mages being in sync really helps the team. Once you sunshine, you want to immediately adrenaline renewal and use 2 to 3 basics on the dummy. The amount of basics you use is based on the speed of the team. On fast teams, your staff spec will still be on its 60-second cooldown on phase 2 if you are too slow to spec before the fight. Once you use your 2 to 3 basics, staff spec. At this point, you can swap your ring off of your Ring of Vigor and put on your DPS ring, either Reaver's or Ring of Death. Keep building to 100%, and eventually the Chinner will remove the dummy. If you still need more adrenaline, there will be another dummy that is south for the meleeers. That is the pre-fight done. It's a lot in a short period of time, but after an hour or so it becomes muscle memory. Phase 1 is the most regimented phase. At most it's 6 abilities, so you're going to pick it up really quickly. Once you are ready for the fight, click your Magma Tempest ability. You need to pre-place it before the fight starts. The timing for this is as soon as the boss timer hits 4 seconds, you can release it. Make sure you don't release it on Nex as she isn't attackable yet, and if you release it on Nex, it's just not going to go off, so you have to release it on the ground. Once attackable, the rotation you want to do is Wild Magic, Smoke Tendrils, Asphyxiate, Omni Power, Dragon's Breath, Gothic Staff. On teams where you have more than one major, you're going to run into issues that the boss will reach 2.1 million HP before your Omni Power hits and deals damage. So to get around that, you're going to want to cancel your thresholds early. As discussed at the start of the video, when canceling early, it's better to prioritize canceling Asphyxiate early due to the relative damage per tick of the 2 abilities. In an ideal world, you want to Dragon's Breath as the boss is phasing, as that means that all your hits of Omni Power have gone through. Feel it out on the first couple kills of every hour, and based on everyone in the team's DPS, you'll get it down. I find that with most teams, I end up doing 4 hits of Smoke Tendrils, 2 hits of Asphyxiate, and then that's perfect for my phasing. And that's for teams that are in the 208 to 218 range for kill times. Phase 2 is the simplest phase in terms of rotations, as you can virtually do the exact same thing every single time. Once the boss has been phased, run to your position. I've been doing Glazy's minion tank, so I'm going to talk about it from that perspective. I run between Umbra and Glacy so I don't get hit by the Amalgamation explosion. During the phase transition, stack a Storm Shard for the base and use another random basic. Once that's done, you're going to Magma Tempest and place it on the ground under Nex. Nex still isn't attackable, so we're going to start charging a Detonate with Blast Diffusion Boots, and after 4 ticks, it's reached its full charge. Release it by hitting the Detonate keybind again, followed by a Wild Magic in the same tick. You know you've done it right if you don't see the exploding animation of Detonate, but the damage still goes through. From there, use one more basic, which for me is Sonic Wave. While using this basic, run to 1 square diagonally behind the Amalgamation. You stand in this square so that your Tsunami will hit both Nex and your Amalgamation. Then you use Dragon's Breath to accomplish the same thing. At this point, Nex should be phased or very close to phased at 1.8 million HP. Get on your Amalgamation to finish killing it. It doesn't really matter what you do, however, what I like to do is Greater Chain and then Asphyxiate. This guarantees that the Amalgamation dies regardless of help, and the crits help me get back up to 100%. Once the Amalgamation is dead, target yourself onto Nex and use an ability if you need more adrenaline, as you want to get up to 100%. If you are Glacies or Umbra, check a Vuln Bomb behind you as is part of the rule. When you throw a Vuln Bomb, it rotates your character towards where you threw it, so you need to take 1 step in and surge, otherwise you'll go the wrong direction. That's phase 2, and let's watch that back one more time in full speed. Phase 3 is the most difficult phase of all of them. Your crits are random, and while you get a lot of them, it can change things up. I haven't fully figured out this phase yet, and it's where I lose the majority of my damage. When you first get to your search spot, Sun Sign as soon as possible and swap to your 2-hand. You're going to have Tsunami up, so any crits that you get give 10% adrenaline. You want to use 2 basics. I prefer Dragon's Breath into Magma Tempest for ease of use, but if you want, you can Magma Tempest first, as it will lead you to getting more adrenaline quickly. The real power of Magma Tempest is that it hits all 4 minions and next 8 times each. That's 40 total hits, and with our 30% crit chance, that's over 100% adrenaline gained from Magma Tempest on average. As soon as you reach 50% adrenaline staff spec again, you should get back to 50% very quickly with all these crits. Your next ability is going to be Smoke Tendrils. Its 100% crit chance will get you to 100% adrenaline easily. From there, you can Omni Power, Armadyl Battle Staff, and 2-hit Asphyxiate. The phase is mostly the big feeler phase, and you kind of just need to practice it, as the amount of crits you generate greatly changes the amount of adrenaline you have. The phase will be so quick that you only get 1 mechanic, and Nex doesn't seem to ice for the first mechanic, so you only need to worry about Smoke and the pool. For Smoke, just look at the direction you have, and if there's someone in your path, just let them know by typing in-game or on voice if you're in Discord. You don't need to worry about moving far away and avoiding hitting people, you just want to focus on your damage. For the pool, ignore it and be above 5.4k HP while doing the next phase, as it will hit everyone for that. Pillars are an interesting phase at AOD with magic. Ideally, you will get order and the minions will be Umbra, Glacis Core, and then Fumus. If they die out of order, you'll need to move to different pillars earlier. The Alt1 plugin Better AOD can show you the rotation for you by reading your chat box and putting it in a nice little graphic for you. When you get to the first pillar on fast teams, you'll have some extra time on your staff spec left, meaning you can Armadyl Battle Staff spec right away. It's going to drain your adrenaline pretty low, but we'll be tsunamiing later, so we don't need to worry about it. Once your Armadyl Battle Staff spec is done, throw a flank or move on to the next pillar if it's already dead. The second pillar is reserved for the SGB spec. If you bring it, Ingenuity of the Humans and SG spec. Ideally, you would do it with a crossbow and SGB amulet, but that can be a little try-hard. Keep attacking the pillar using basics, and if you reach 50% adrenaline quick enough, you can use wild magic or potentially use it on the next pillar. The third pillar is our setup pillar. Magma Tempest will be back off cooldown, so throw it down as you get there. Keep building with basics, and once it gets to 50% HP, you want to Tsunami. With our relic, it doesn't cost much adrenaline, and it really helps you get up to 100% for the end of the kill. The fourth pillar is the second half of our setup for the final DPS rotation. Sunshine as soon as possible, and Adrenaline Potion right away. Keep attacking the final pillar, and when you reach 50% adrenaline, staff spec again. Continue building, and right before the final pillar dies, pre-Tempest onto Nex. This will help you stack crits to gain adrenaline. I like my first ability on Nex to be Smoke Tendrils while the Tsunami buff is still up, as it gets you right to 100% adrenaline, and then I use Omni Power into Wild Magic, and if you crit well enough, an ABS spec to finish off the kill, and it should be done. Feel free to use your Limitless on this final phase, as you don't want to be using any basics on Nex. We're now at the end of the kill. Pick up your drop and do it again 19 more times until the hour is over. There are a lot of intricacies to this method, such as weaving in conks and so on, that I didn't cover, and I feel those are best learned by doing the method and doing the boss. This gives you a good baseline, and then you can go out there and improve on what I've shown here. But that's going to be the end of the video. I hope that you learned something today, even if you are unable to have the gear to do this method. And for those of you that do have that gear, I hope to see you pulling 6 to 7 mil gems shortly. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, but past that, have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.